Students do not like to be in classrooms where they do not know what is going to happen next. Students like consistency as it creates a school climate where everyone knows what to expect and what to do, and can work in an environment that is safe and inviting. Dr. Frank's book is based on his experience as a practitioner. He knows how he shifts the emphasis from discipline as a standalone product to discipline within the skillful practice of a purposeful relationship. This book provides a multitude of strategies and resources that can help educators and principals when working with students in discipline situations. I agree with him when he states, effective discipline practices that are relationally based and skillfully applied certainly can make a huge difference, changing the behaviors of many misbehaving students. Dr. Frank articulately explains, discipline, when done correctly, is a loving process. It is meant to correct and teach. It is meant to guide a ship in the right direction. Thus, effective teachers develop a relational experience with a misbehaving student. Harry Wong, author of The First Days of School, the Classroom Management Book, and the Classroom Instruction Book. Introduction. A growing attitude in education is that student discipline is somehow inappropriate. Generally speaking, if you work in a school with a typical student population, then you know you can't get rid of student discipline. It would be like raising a child without disciplining them, or running a city without laws. It would mean believing that students don't need boundaries, correction, and healthy accountability. However, many times student discipline is grossly mishandled, inequitable, and unjust. Rarely does a student demonstrate healthy change because of rigid approaches to discipline. Consistency is essential. However, as will be discussed in this book, discipline needs to be implemented within the broader context of a relationship that is guided by a skilled adult. This book seeks to merge two positions. One that values the role of discipline when it is warranted, and the other that prioritizes relationships and giving the student a path toward growth. Discipline and relationships don't need to be mutually exclusive concepts. This is why I refer to my approach as relational discipline. Some educators emphasize the role of discipline so much that it appears punitive. They might not recognize this perception, but when dissected, their approach is often more concerned with what discipline the student gets instead of how the student can change. Conversely, there are educators on the opposite side of the spectrum who value relationship building to the point of neglecting student accountability. In doing so, the misbehaving student learns that his actions don't have consequences. The intent of this book is to share the strategies and resources that I have developed throughout my career, strategies and resources that have worked for me as I've worked with students for almost 2 decades. It is a book based on one person's experience as a practitioner, building on the theoretical foundation for the development of that practice. This book promotes the practice of school discipline, but within an approach that is relational and strategic. Much of this book seeks to shift the emphasis from discipline as a standalone product to discipline within the skillful practice of a purposeful relationship. My aim is to help educators think about discipline differently and to help educators to shift how they position themselves with their students, becoming savvier in how they administer discipline while maintaining a positive relationship with their students. In schools, we need to make a shift away from focusing on punishment to fostering accountability. Both involve consequences, but the latter is more likely to preserve the relationship, creating a platform for future growth. When discipline must exist, it needs to be relational. Educators can succeed with misbehaving students if they multiply their tricks of the trade and adopt a discipline philosophy that is more about accountability and less about punishment. In this book, I explain the practice of relational discipline. I have found the relational stance, strategies, and resources in these chapters to be very useful, both for myself and for teachers and schools with whom